I know that the title's a bit clickbaity, but hear me out. I'm talking about Inside Ugliness. But before we get started with that, I do want to say that my channel has been going for about a year or more. And it's been about gaming. And I suck at making gaming content. I love gaming. I love watching gaming content. But I think that, with me sucking at gaming content and realizing that that is not the majority of what I watch, I tend to watch people talking about shit and sharing their opinions. I tend to gear more towards that kind of type of content. I've really been thinking about changing mine up for a long time. I'm like, maybe you should do what you do the most of. You know what I'm trying to say. And I really feared doing this because I'm afraid that YouTube is not going to know where to put me. And also, I'm afraid people are going to tell me to shut the fuck up, which honestly, I've already been kind of trolled and bullied a bit on my gaming content. So why would I fear that too much? I mean, if they're going to say what they're going to say, that's fine. And I know everyone's not going to agree with all the things that I want to talk about and all the things that I say in my opinions, which is normal, just normal. It's fine. I would just like you to be kind about it if you do disagree. That's about it. But if you have subscribed to me already and you were watching my gaming content and you want to unsubscribe, I totally understand it. I appreciate your support up until this point. And if you think you might actually like to sit back and hear what I got to talk about and you would like to say subscribe just to see if you're vibing with what I'm throwing out, that'd be great too. So I really appreciate it. That being said, I will not ask you to like and subscribe yet. I will give you some time to see if you like what I'm going to get into. Have you ever heard someone say when they've done or said something bad or mean, I'm going to hell? Well, it seems like there's a growing movement of people who don't necessarily think that way anymore. I guess that there is a movement on not having empathy for others. And these seem to be people who are religious, and I guess that they think you don't need to be kind to go to heaven now. So that's cool and something that I probably will want to talk about one day, but it's not the topic today. For today, I want to talk about people who tend to be mean, manipulative, or selfish, or even all three or a couple of these things, but are also religious, and they typically seem to really fear not going to heaven, and I think it's because they know and they're at least somewhat self-aware of how they've treated other people and the things that they've said and done throughout their lifetime. And I've known one or two of these people really in my life, and one I was very close to, and they were definitely somewhat abusive to people in their life. And then at the same time, were very quick to ugliness to people out in public. Now, that being said, they treated me like a guardian angel. So I think that is very telling of people like this when they, treat certain people like garbage. And sometimes that's off and on. Sometimes that's not all the time. But then they treat other people very well. I mean, it's like, so obviously you have to have awareness of when you're not treating people well in order to treat people well. So I definitely think that they fear not going to heaven for good reason. They know that, like, if it was a point system, you're putting a lot of notches on the bad side. Like, if this is the Santa list, have you been naughty or have you been nice? Like, if it's a point system, which side are you really going to fall into? And so I think it's understandable that they fear not going to heaven, because I think that, I've known a lot of people in my lifetime already, and, some people deep down are very nice people. And, that's not to say, and I'm not saying that you can't be caught being an asshole. Everyone is caught up being an asshole sometimes, including me. No one is perfect. We all get moody sometimes, we all can be grumpy bears. But I'm talking about people who, like, go off the ledge swinging at, like, there's a difference. And if you know someone like this, you know it. And if you don't, leave a comment. We can talk about it more. But there's a big difference between someone being caught being an asshole and someone who inherently views people in such a negative light that they can treat them like the scum of the earth. And a lot of the times, I think because these people are so ugly in the inside, they're very paranoid of other people, and that makes it so much worse. And this may be a hot take, and I'm tearing up because obviously I was very close to someone like this, but I do have empathy for at least some of these people, because even though they are inherently not nice people and they view the world and other people in a whole, or even people that are close to them, in a not nice way, I can see how them either not having the ability or the tools to change themselves deep down, or just not wanting to, would cause great fear and anxiety about what God is going to do to them. And maybe I empathize with that because when I was a child, I was very afraid of God, as I was taught to be. Don't act like if you've been in religion, or have had religious people in your family, do not act like that has not been the case, at least at some point in your life or your whole life. And I'll give you an example kind of from my personal life. When I was like maybe 8, 9, 10, around that age, someone dared me to say every cuss word. And I said everyone I knew at the time, at least. And then I had in my room a sliding glass closet that was mirrors. And if you had lived in a trailer back in the late 2000s or late 90s, early 2000s, you may have seen a closet like this. I immediately went to my room, looked at myself in the mirror in that closet, and bawled my eyes out because I just knew that God hated me. So, honestly, I don't think it's weird or wrong for me to empathize with people who aren't nice deep down, or aren't inherently nice. I don't think that that is a weird or a wrong thing. I actually think that that's normal. That's how people should be. But I think because of that little kid me who thought that way and felt that way about God, I get it. I get being like, oh, I can't, but I guess I don't get the can't control myself part. I have been lucky not to be in a situation where I was ever ugly, or I was having a hard time in my life that was causing me to be ugly to other people. I have never been in the situation where I couldn't change the ugliness that I was portraying or feeling towards other people. I can somewhat empathize with that, but I definitely cannot understand it because I've never been in those shoes. And I think that people like this really need and should be seeking a lot of help to change their core thoughts and feelings, because obviously they're not very nice but I also understand that would probably take a lot of work and therapy and self-reflection. And I do think that they're self-aware enough to worry about going to heaven, but I don't think they, lots of times I don't think they can face it. I do not, I think that anytime they're face to face with the type of people that they've been or that they are, they disassociate, the cognitive dissonance is just so strong. I'm not sure if they actually were to seek help or therapy that they could actually face their demons, so to speak, which is just such a scary way to live, especially if you believe in God. It almost feels like this topic is so immense, but yet it's so simple, But I think that it was just something I found to be interesting, because it seems that when someone is that type of person, or they have all this trauma that they hold on to, that they then just pass on the trauma and the awfulness. we all know someone like that, and it seems like they all are believers, and they all, maybe not all, but most of them really try to dive into that, I think, because they are that way. Like, I think that those things tend to go hand in hand. And honestly, it's sad. It's sad. Like, I guess I just wish that we didn't have generations and generations of people who had trauma and passed on trauma and had ugliness, or meanness be done to them, and then they just go to pass it on. It's like this horrible cycle. And I know that our generation, my generation, and the next generation that are now adults or becoming adults are really breaking a lot of these cycles, but there's still way too much of it. And it's really horrible. And I really feel bad for the people who went through it and are still going through it, because I was very lucky in the way of my mom, while she grew up with some of that, really it taught her to be the opposite. So I didn't have to grow up with someone putting their shit on me, which was a blessing, because I know many people my age and some younger that did not have that luxury. And they're having to break the cycle themselves. They're having to do what my mother did. And that's, it's tough. I recognize how tough it is to be treated like shit and then not turn around and do that to someone else. I think it takes more strength not to fall into doing that than it does to just repeat the cycle. When it takes more strength to break it, but it's a lot harder on you not to in the long run. So, like, if anyone has dealt with this, and you're going through it, like, go ahead and break it, because it takes a lot more strength to do that. But in the long run, it's going to be a lot more beneficial to you, because you are just going to have a life where you are fighting constantly against yourself, this battle of, feeling bad and thinking bad and putting out bad, and then trying to repent for it or get forgiveness, and worrying, if you're a believer especially, about whether or not you're going to go to heaven or hell. You just need to break it. It wasn't yours to begin with, and you have been making it yours. Okay, don't make it your problem. It's not your problem. It was someone else's problem that they put on you and asked you to pass on. You don't have to do that. You don't. You have a choice. And you might think a lot of, horrible things about people, or see people in horrible lights deep down. And sometimes these are going to be people you don't even know. You do not have to feel that way about people. You can have empathy and compassion and care about other people. And it's going to take a hell of a lot of work to get there, and it's not going to happen in a day. It may not fully happen in a decade, but I can tell you, if you start now, that by the time it's been 10 years, you will see a whole different person who is probably still working on it, because a lot of the time this is lifetime shit. But you will see two totally different people regardless, and you will be a lot happier with the person you become. So anyways, if you know someone like this, leave a comment. We can connect on that. If you are this type of person, you can also leave a comment if you'd feel like it. And then if you totally disagree with what I say, you can also leave a comment. Just please be nice about it. And again, if you do not know someone like this and you want me to elaborate, we can get down there and chat about that too. So maybe I have earned a like or subscribe, and if I have, I will take those. And if I have not, well, I'll try again next time. Have a good one. Bye.